Most people spend every spring doing the same thing, buying seeds, starting seedlings, replanting the entire garden from scratch, year after year. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. But what if you only had to do it once? There's a smarter way to garden, a way that serious growers have quietly been using for generations. You plant these crops one time, get them established, and they just keep coming back, year after year, some of them for a decade or more. Less work, more food, and a garden that practically runs itself. Here are 7 crops you can plant once and eat from for the next 10 years. Let's start with one that almost everyone has heard of, but very few people actually grow. Asparagus is a perennial powerhouse. Once you get a bed established, it will produce for 15 to 20 years. That's not a typo. 20 years of harvests from a single planting. A well-maintained asparagus bed can outlast a car loan and still be going strong. The reason it lasts so long comes down to what's happening underground. Asparagus grows from thick, fleshy root crowns that store enormous amounts of energy. Every winter, the plant goes dormant. Every spring, those roots push up fresh spears like clockwork without you doing anything. The root system just gets stronger and more productive over time. Now, here's why most people skip it. Patience. The first year, you don't harvest at all. The second year, you take just a little. By year 3, you've got a full harvest. And from that point forward, it basically feeds itself. Most gardeners want instant results, so they pass on asparagus. That's their loss and your gain. The tip that makes the biggest difference? Plant your crowns in a trench about 8 inches deep and give them full sun. Don't rush the harvest. Let those roots build up strength in the early years, and they'll reward you for decades. Next up is a plant that's been quietly growing in cottage gardens for centuries, and most modern gardeners have completely forgotten about it. Number 2, rhubarb. And before you say you don't like rhubarb, hear this out, because this plant is genuinely one of the most useful perennials you can grow. It comes back every year. It spreads slowly into a bigger and bigger clump, and a single plant can produce for 10 years or more with almost zero attention. Rhubarb's thick stalks emerge every spring, often before almost anything else in the garden is even stirring. That early season production alone makes it incredibly valuable. The deep taproot system is what keeps it alive through winter and sends up fresh growth year after year. And once it's settled in, it's tough. Cold snaps, dry spells. Rhubarb handles conditions that would kill off annual vegetables without blinking. Most people associate it only with strawberry rhubarb pie, but those tart stalks are incredibly versatile. Jams, sauces, chutneys, even savory dishes. It's underused precisely because people don't know what to do with it. One critical tip: never eat the leaves. They're toxic. Stalks only, and give your rhubarb a generous top dressing of compost every autumn. That's really all the maintenance it asks for. Speaking of low maintenance, number 3 might be the most underrated plant on this entire list. Number 3, walking onions, also called Egyptian onions or tree onions. And this one genuinely surprises people who've never seen them before. Instead of producing seeds at the top of the stalk like regular onions, walking onions grow small bulblets, tiny onions, right at the tip of each stalk. When those stalks get heavy enough, they bend over and the bulblets touch the ground and root themselves. The plant literally walks across your garden, self-propagating year after year, forever. You never have to replant them. You never have to buy seeds or starts again. They just spread on their own. And you harvest from the edges of the patch whenever you need green onion tops, small bulbs, or the larger underground bulbs in autumn. This is the kind of plant people relied on before supermarkets existed, before supply chains, before anyone was ordering seeds from a catalog. It was just there, every year, feeding families with no effort at all. The growing tip is simple. Plant a few bulblets in a sunny, well-drained spot and just let them do their thing. They'll take care of the rest. Now, around this point in the list, I want to mention that one of the crops coming up is something almost every home gardener completely ignores. It grows easily, it produces abundantly, and it can keep feeding you for years. Keep watching. Number 4 is the globe artichoke. And this one might seem intimidating, but it absolutely shouldn't be. Artichokes are perennials in zones 7 and warmer, meaning in mild climates, they come back reliably every year from the same root crown. In colder areas, they can be grown as annuals or given some winter protection, but in the right climate, a single artichoke plant can produce for 5 to 10 years and gets more vigorous over time. The plants themselves are dramatic. Big, silvery green leaves, sometimes 4 or 5 feet tall, and those gorgeous, edible flower buds that most people only ever see in a grocery store. Growing your own means you can harvest them young and tender, at a stage supermarkets never sell. What makes artichokes genuinely valuable from a food security standpoint is their yield. A mature plant can produce dozens of buds per season, multiple plants, and you've got more than you can eat. They also attract pollinators, which benefits everything else in your garden. Tip: artichokes love deep, rich soil and full sun. Cut them back hard in late fall and mulch heavily if your winters get cold. They'll bounce back in spring bigger than before. Now things start to get really interesting because the next 3 crops are where most people's gardens are leaving serious food on the table. Number 5, perennial herbs. And I mean specifically thyme, oregano, and chives, because these 3 are genuinely perennial in most climates. They come back year after year, and they're used in cooking almost daily in most households. Think about what you spend on fresh herbs at the grocery store over the course of a year. Small bundles of thyme for a few dollars, oregano, chives, it adds up. Now imagine having a permanent herb garden that you planted once 3 years ago and haven't touched since, except to harvest from it. Chives spread slowly by division and self-seeding. Thyme and oregano form woody perennial clumps that get larger every season. They're drought tolerant, they handle poor soil, they rarely have pest problems, and they ask almost nothing from you. In return, they produce all season long. One tip: cut them back by about 1/3 in late spring or after flowering to keep them bushy and productive. That's it. That's the whole maintenance routine. Number 6 brings us back to something a lot of people actually try and then give up on too quickly. 6, strawberries. Now technically, modern hybrid strawberries have a productive lifespan of 3 to 5 years per plant. But here's the thing most people don't know. Strawberry plants send out runners, long horizontal stems that root into the soil and become brand new plants. If you let those runners take hold, your strawberry patch essentially renews itself automatically. A strawberry bed you plant today can still be producing abundantly a decade from now. Not from the original plants, but from the constant self-renewal happening underneath your feet. Imagine stepping outside on a warm June morning and filling a bowl with fresh strawberries that you haven't had to replant, haven't had to start from seed, and barely had to think about since the first year. That's what a self-managing strawberry patch actually looks like. Tip: don't let your patch get too crowded. Every 2 or 3 years, thin out the older plants and give the younger runners space to establish. Keep the bed fertile with compost and you'll have strawberries for as long as you want them. And now number 7. This one might be the most powerful on the list when it comes to long-term food independence. 7. Berry bushes. Specifically blueberries, blackberries, or currants. Take your pick based on your climate. These are woody perennials that can live for 20, 30, even 40 years. A blueberry bush planted today could still be feeding your children. That's not an exaggeration. That's just how long-lived these plants are. The yields are extraordinary once they mature. A single mature blueberry bush can produce several pounds of fruit per season. A row of blackberries can produce more than most families can process. And the nutritional value, antioxidants, vitamins, fiber, is exceptional. This is the kind of long-term food security that most people never think about because we're conditioned to think in terms of single seasons. But the gardeners who planted berry bushes 10 years ago, they've been harvesting from them this entire time, with nothing more than some annual pruning and a bit of mulch. Tip for blueberries specifically: they need acidic soil, around pH 4.5 to 5.5. Get that right from the start and you'll have fruit for decades. Blackberries and currants are far less fussy. Plant them in decent soil with good sun, and they'll take care of themselves. Here's the thing that ties all 7 of these together. Every single one of these plants works with a deep-rooted perennial life cycle, storing energy underground through winter and re-emerging stronger each spring. They've evolved to survive, to persist, to produce without being coddled. Annual vegetables need you. These plants just need a chance to get established. The old-time homesteaders knew this. Before anyone was making weekly grocery runs, people designed their gardens to feed them with as little replanting as possible. They planted asparagus beds they knew their grandchildren would harvest from. They kept rhubarb crowns going for generations. They let their onions walk. They managed berry patches like long-term investments, because that's exactly what they were. That knowledge got lost somewhere. Most modern gardening advice is built around annuals, Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, squash, plant, harvest, replant. Every year. It's not wrong, but it's only half the picture. Add these 7 perennials to your space, even just a few of them, and you shift from a garden that demands constant effort to one that builds its own momentum. Less work every year, more abundance every year. Real food security that doesn't depend on seed availability, supply chains, or a good growing season for annuals. Plant once, tend a little, eat for a decade. If this is the kind of practical, no-nonsense growing advice you want more of, subscribe. New videos go up regularly, and every one of them is built around helping you grow more food with less work.